order. It is 5:34. We are running a little bit late, but we do have a quorum, and that's been confirmed. Right now, I'd like for everyone to stand, please, for our Pledge of Allegiance and our pledge to the U.S. for the U.S. flag and our Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one indivisible. At this time, we'll take a moment of silence, please. Thank you. At this time, are there any public comments that we,
No public comments.
no public comments? We'll move on to the consent agenda. I just do want to make a comment about the consent agenda. These are the items that the chair and the vice chair normally discuss and work with administration prior to the meeting. But there are 8 items for consent. They're always open for discussion by any board member. Backup information is always available. But with that said, I'd like to have I'd like to have a motion. We're going to move forward with this consent agenda.
This is Judah, so move.
We have a motion.
Oh, I move to approve. Sorry, my thing was on.
We have a motion to approve.
I'll second them.
A second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
I do have a comment, Mr. Chairman. On number 6, I just had a question on that because it was presentation, discussion, and action. So I didn't know whether that was maybe just a mistake in the way that it was put on the agenda as a presentation.
Discussion, possible action.
I'm just assuming it probably was just meant to be under consideration, possible action, but I just wanted to point that out. Thanks.
Thank you, council. Should we be concerned with that item?
There's nothing to be concerned about. There's a presentation in the packet that the board had. And if you want to pull it out, they can certainly make the presentation, but it doesn't matter that it's on the.
Okay, then we'll move forward with that item. Thank you, Mayor, for pointing that out. We have items for individual consideration. That's a general manager report. Ms. Gilbert.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. We have a little bit of extensive items and we have exciting things and presentations that we're going to do here. We'll try and move it along quickly in consideration of time. The first item that is on the list is the general manager's report is the board calendar. And in there you'll have under item 1A, you have all of the meetings. We've done a little bit of changes. We color coded now the information when the board meetings are held, when the SRWA board meetings are held, and also the public board meetings as well. Something to also consider is if any of you are considering going to the APP Engineering Operations Conference, and it is going to be on April 30th through May 3rd. Please let me know if any of you are intending to. There will be some exciting announcements for PUB that I'm not allowed at this time until after the meeting to announce. So with that, I also want to note that we have a couple of holidays in March 31st, public, the offices will be closed. That is Cesar Chavez Day. We will also be closed for Good Friday on April 7th and May 29th, Memorial Day. And are there any questions on board calendar? Okay. And now we're going to move to financial report with Monica Cavazos.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Monica Cavazos, Director of Finance. I will be presenting the year-to-date financials as of January 31st, 2023. We'll be focusing on the far right column. And you'll see that we had operating revenues from sales and service charges of $55,732,233. Fuel collections of $29,614,850. Fuel overbill of 4,007,145, less the rate stabilization of 1,500,000, and utility service to the city of Brownsville of 2,132,645, gives us total operating revenues of 77,227,283. From this, we deduct our total operating expenses of $65,097,091, leaving us operating income of $12,130,192. We then back out our non-operating expenses of $6,729,075, leaves us income before capital contributions of $5,401,117. We add the capital contributions of $2,630,778, gives us a change in net position of $8,031,895. When added to the net position at the beginning of the year of $445,310,943, gives us a net position at the end of the period of $43,342,838. Moving on to the next report, the flow of funds. When you look at line 18, you see that we generated sufficient revenues to give us a balance available to surplus of $12,342,411. That covers the transfers to the city net of their usage, the cash transfer of $3,123,929, leaving a balance available for transfers out of $9,218,482. That covers our operating sub-account for the fuel adjustment of $2,136,244, improvement fund for capital improvement funding of $2,969,471, and an improvement fund for Resaca capital project funding of $119,928, for total transfers of $5,225,643. This is an improvement fund for $3,992,839. And we're going to skip ahead to the final page of the report, which is our cash and investments. I want to make note on line 9, that is our improvement fund. The balance in the improvement fund is $87,073,250. You will see we have a footnote that includes the $29 million of the Tenaska Equity Fund in our improvement fund.
So the $29 million is still there and
Yes.
untouched.
And it's still there and untouched. Yes.
Sounds great.
Any other questions on the financials?
Any questions from the board members?
No.
Okay, we'll move on.
Next item is also me. It's the engineering fees expense report. Between the O&M and capital funds, we had a total budget of $3,162,200. Our year-to-date spending is $1,147,774, leaving a budget balance of $2,014,440. We're almost at the half year point, and so we're right on track with our budget on the engineering fees. Any questions on engineering fees?
Any questions on the engineering fees and legal fees? You said we're at the halfway point.
And I'm sorry, that's as of January. We still have 2 more months. February and March will get us to so that's 1/3 of the year, and so we're on track. We spent $1 million of the $3 million, so we're right on track
Okay.
with our budget.
All right, thank you.
And then
Anything else from the board? Okay, the next item.
the next item is the legal fees. You will see again in the combined budget between O&M and capital, we have a total budget of $1,860,474. We have year-to-date spending of $471,839, leaving a budget balance of $1,388,635. You will see a little chart. We have allocated $166,803 for the in-house counsel legal services department, and that will be funded once that department is staffed and ready to go. But we have designated those funds available from the legal fees budget. Any questions on the legal fees?
No, the numbers sound good. They look good. Thank you.
Yes, they do.
Okay, next item.
Next report is me as well. This is the report for the capital work orders to the city. At the top of the report, we show the historical numbers from 2019 through 2022. excuse me, through 2023, a portion of 2023. Those are items, work orders that we've done for the city that we did not bill the city for. We have now started to bill the city for some of the work orders that we're doing for them. And so in the middle of the page, you see the billed services. Year to date, it looks high at 739,513.09. A portion of that, 725,000, is the first progress payment on the ARPA funds for the downtown water and wastewater improvements. We have received that, as well as the second progress payment of $1,450,000. We received that transfer on February 28th. And so while that number looks large, it's not really, it's without the ARPA monies, it's 14,500. And then the bottom part of the report shows you the history and the current year to date, the usage and the cash transfers to the city. So it shows what their usage was by utility, what their cash transfer is, and what their gross transfer is for the year. And it's, again, the historical information on the city. Any questions on the city report?
Any questions or comments from any of the board members? It looks like we're working well, the city, and resolving some of these matters and getting some of the debt cleared up. Okay, next item.
The next item that I have, this is an annual review that we have to do. This is for our debt obligations, post-issuance compliance policy and procedures. We have to have it reviewed annually by our bond counsel to ensure that that we're still in compliance with all tax laws and any other regulations related to bond issuance. And so our bond counsel, ORIC, did review it. They had no changes to submit. And so our CFO has certified that we are in full compliance with our debt obligations, post-issuance compliance policies and procedures. And this is just an annual certification done by the CFO.
Okay, thank you for that. Any comments on that item? Okay, we're moving to the
Thank you.
letter F.
Thanks.
To the next item for the Public Utilities Board Consumer Advisory Panel, I do want to acknowledge that we have one of the Amber McGinnis, class of 38 for Leadership Brownsville. So we welcome her here to the meeting, and she's here as part of the civic duties requirements for the class. And so I don't know if Amber wants to stand up if she's here.
The folks from Leadership Brownsville?
Yes.
Is there any others? Is there anyone else?
How many do we have? Because we have a surprise for them. I'm just kidding. And we'll be on our best behavior.
So now moving on, we also have the Public Utilities Board Consumer Advisory Panel update. And at this time, Estrella, if she can do the introductions.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the board. Today with me, we have Ms. Eliza Vasquez, who's our PubCap Chair, who will be doing our quarter report for the VB board. Ms. Vasquez?
Mr. Chairman, board members, my name is Eliza Vasquez. I have the honor of being your current chairperson for PubCap. We're going to start something new. We're going to have a quarterly presentation. Today is our first time to present. This is an outline of what I'm going to go over. What is PubCap, our calendar, our PubCap calendar, the board quarterly report calendar, and our community involvement. The purpose of PubCap, Brownsville PUB established PubCap in 1983 to provide customers a forum to express community concerns. PubCap consists of 11 members, including the liaison, which is Clady Quesada. Our panel members serve for a 2-year term. We typically have meetings once a month, third Wednesday of every month from 5:30 to 7 at the Annex Building, and we welcome the public to attend our monthly meetings. This is a current picture of some of our PubCap members. I think we have a diverse group. I represent the commercial real estate sector of our city. We also have someone representing the manufacturing sector, someone from the banking community, from the medical community, the ISD, and so forth. We recently made some changes to our bylaws. These are the changes that we made. One of them was to change
the meetings from the administration building to the annex building. The second change we made was to present a report to the board on a quarterly basis. And the third change was to add citizen comments and limit that time to 5 minutes. This is the calendar for our meetings. On the left is the PubCat meetings, and on the right is when we will be reporting to the board. March will include January and February meetings. We did not meet in December. PubCat has been trying to get more involved with our community. Those are some of the things that we've been involved in. I personally attended the water wastewater community tour and the electrical community tour. We had members of PubCat participate in the Char Days parade and also man the booth at Sombrero Fest for PUB. This is a recap of our January 18th meeting. We had community members in attendance. This is when we approved the changes to the bylaws. We had 2 presentations. The first one was the winter event that was presented by Cesar Cortinas and Eli Alvarez. The second presentation was assistance program, and that was presented by Eddie Hernandez. We did not have any public comments in our January meeting. Our February meeting was on the 15th. Again, we had community attendance. We had 1 presentation by Ms. Monica Cavazos on the bond ordinance, special covenants, section 33L requirements pertaining to the disposition of Tenasca equity funds. We did have public comments during our February meeting. We had questions about Tenasca bond requirements and allocation of funds. We also had discussion and questions about rebates and weatherproofing homes. During our February meeting, we did not have it at the annex. We had it at the service center at 550. So after our meeting, Ms. Marie Leal gave PubCat members a tour of that facility. Moving forward, PubCat would like to be more involved with the community, try to get members to attend our meetings. Brainstorming, one of the things that we thought that we could do was set up a booth or a table at First Friday downtown. I've already spoken to Alan Garces, who's in charge of that. And maybe we can do an outreach there. We would welcome the board members to attend our PubCat meetings. We'd love to have at least 1 board member attend the PubCat meeting. And we'd like to hear board recommendations as how you want us to go forward. If you have any questions, ideas of things that we could do, we'd love to hear from you.
Don't say that too loud or Dr. Holman's going to hear you.
Somebody put a quarter in the jukebox and now I won't stop talking. No, it's funny because I was just talking about going to the meeting next week. So yeah.
Great, we'd love to
I'll
have
do
you.
my best to make it.
Any questions, anything else?
Lisa, just a comment.
Yes, sir.
How's the community attendance? I mean, y'all getting individuals or people to come in from community ratepayers, residents?
Usually about 3, sometimes more. We'd like for it to be, we'd like for more community members to attend. It's on the website, it's on Facebook, it's, other areas of social media. One of the things that I've just asked our PubCat meetings members is this next meeting for each member to come with 1 question, comment, concern from a PUB customer. And hopefully we can get some more discussion and get things taken care of that way. I'm very proud that many of the directors attend the PubCat meetings. And when we do have customers that come and have a comment or question, we're able to connect the right person with them so they go up and answer their questions.
I just want to applaud, all your membership on your commitment, your involvement. It's not easy sometimes to give up on your time to make these meetings successful and to attend them, but thank you on behalf of the board here.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have 2 more items that are up on the agenda, and this will be presented by Dr. Emilia Rivera, and she will be talking about the summer intern program and also recognition of the 2022 Excellence Awards and Employees of the Year. So she's loading up her presentations.
Good afternoon, Board Chair, Emilia Guerra, Director of Human Resources. And so I'm going to give a very brief overview of our internship program. We are getting ready to launch our internship program for the summer. We do this starting in June through August. So I'm going to go over some of the things that we do. First of all, internship programs provide a lot of benefits both to the organization and to the students who participate as interns. For us, students help us, they provide support on projects and special assignments, so that's really good, especially when we have limited resources and time for our staff members. We learn from them because they bring in new innovative concepts and ideas, so it's a learning experience for us as well. It helps us strengthen our bonds with the community and with local public schools and universities throughout Texas. Most of our interns come from the local university, but we do get some from even out of state. And then it's one of the biggest goals for us is to help us build a pool of talent. So it is an opportunity for us to recruit a new generation of talent for PUB. Hope is that they do an internship with us and then they do consider us for future employment when they finish their school. So our summer internship program, like I said, is going to begin. We're getting ready to launch it. It is a 12-week paid internship program. It is open to juniors, seniors, and graduate students from universities and colleges. And so we've had this program going for a while, but we wanted to give you 10-year statistics on the program. So since 2013, we have hired 59 interns. 17 of those interns have taken a job offer with PUB, and we currently have 6 that are still employed with us. And as a matter of fact, one of the ladies in the picture there, her name's Jessica. She still works for us. She is in our records management department. And so we also participate in other internship efforts. For the past few years, we've been doing the Home to Texas program with UT Austin. UT Austin provides a $5,000 stipend to students and they come work for us. And then we can either pay them, which last year we did, we paid them for doing the internship with us. We've also done a deed internship, and that is grant funded through APPA. And then we participate with BISD and Los Fresnos, the school districts. Those are high school students. And for instance, with Hannah, we had a former employee of ours. She runs the drafting program at BISD at Hannah. And so she sends the students that come work in our do drafting internships for us. And they do it for just credit. And then in the past, the Meadows Foundation had a Meadows internship program, so we did participate in that. We've done the All-In internship program, and that was with TSC and United Way. And then we've also we're doing a cooperative education program. We have an accounting student, and she is working in our accounting department this semester, and that's through TSC. And that's a brief overview of our internship programs. If you all have any questions for us, if you know of any students who are juniors, seniors, or graduate students that would like to intern with us over the summer, please invite them to apply with us.
Amelia, just a quick question. The paid internship, that funding is an internal funding from PUB or?
It is funded. So this year we got funding for 8 internships. We may increase that if we can to up to 10.
But those funds are internal funds from PUB that y'all make available. That's good. Any questions from the other members? Thank you, Amelia, for that presentation. We appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. And then the next one is exciting for us. This is the first time we do this as part of our strategy to make PUB a premier utility service company. Sorry, Marilyn, I just went on to the next. Yes, that's okay. Employee recognition continues to be an important part of our culture. Our recognition program supports the acknowledgement of employees who exemplify our core values and those who reach milestones in their years of service with PUB. PUB's recognition program was created in 1998, and we have a team of PUB employees who have continuously kept this program alive and active at PUB. In 2020, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, we put a pause to the program, even though our employees continue to do exemplary work throughout this period of time. So in 2021, in 2022, we reactivated the program, and the employee recognition team received, considered, and recommended 6 Excellence Awards recipients. And from there, select 3 Employees of the Year. And so some of these recipients are here tonight, and I'd like to bring them forward, give them an opportunity to take a picture with you all if we can, but not all of them could be here tonight, but I'm going to name them anyway. Liliana Garza, she's an administrative assistant with the Customer Service and Information Technology Department. Alfonso Vital, he is here tonight. So Alfonso, come on up. Alfonso Vital is our lead power plant instrument tech with the Power Production Department. Jesus Ricardo Martinez is also here tonight. He's our power plant foreman with the Power Production Department. And Rene Mariscal, he's our water resources manager with the Resilience Department. And the next 2 employees are also not here, but I want to mention their names. Alfredo Ruiz, he's the foreman with the Water Wastewater Plant Maintenance Department. I don't think he's here. And Jose Amaya, who's, when he was nominated for this award, he was our compensation administrator. He has now moved on. He is our billing manager, but at the time he was with the Compensation and Benefits Department. And so from these nominations, the general manager selects the Employee of the Year. Because 3 of the 6 employees were nominated for exemplary performance during 2020, 2021, and 2022, the team recommended, and Ms. Gilbert, as the executive sponsor of the program, authorized a one-time exception to the program that allows for only 1 Employee of the Year to be selected annually. And so therefore, in 2022, we had 3 recipients of the Outstanding Employee of the Year Award. And those 3 recipients are Rene Mariscal, Alfredo Ruiz, and Joe Amaya. So thank you all. They're going to take pictures with y'all, if you don't mind, please.
Thank you. I actually missed that part of the program because I had to run off to a meeting, but thank you and congratulations.
Absolutely. Ms. Gilbert, do you have any comments for your employees? All right.
Stand up.
Okay.
One last thing before I get off the podium, but I want to recognize the employee recognition team. Some of the members of the team are here today. It is a very difficult and challenging task to select from some very awesome employees. And so if you're here and you're part of the recognition team, can you please stand up? Thank you all.
So thank you, and we move on to the next items unless there's any other comments on these 2 items. So we have the aid to Brunswick Utilities Board for all of our customers. My apologies, I paused there.
So good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. So I'll be presenting this item here. I'm going to be brief. I'm just going to cover our customer aging report, provides some statistics on our payment arrangements and disconnections. So starting off with the customer aging, the total aggregate customer debt for the customers 90 days past due as of the end of February 2023 was at $2,562,410. That was a reduction of $500,000 from the debt that was reported a month ago. So we've been seeing an increased payment activity. The customer service and call center has been busy making payment arrangements for customers. Our marketing has been encouraging customers to make payment arrangements and promoting the various aid opportunities through social media and television. So moving on to the disconnections, we did issue a press release this past Monday reminding customers of service disconnections, which started today. So some of the statistics for today, we had a total of 90 disconnections. 46 of those customers did come in, made a payment, a payment arrangement, and they have been reconnected. The other 44 were likely probably customers that are working, and so as soon as they get home, they'll realize that they've been disconnected. They'll be calling dispatch, and so those will be handled to dispatch, or they'll be coming in tomorrow, more than likely, or calling in. So for tomorrow, we do have 77 disconnections that are scheduled. And as far as payment arrangements, today was a busy day. It's been busy this past few weeks. Today, they had a total of 247 payment arrangements that were completed. And total payment arrangements that are in good standing are a total of 2,545. So they're just some brief statistics there. Because disconnections are just ramping up, we will keep the board updated, hopefully on a weekly basis. We can provide and forward those reports to the board to keep them abreast of what's going on. So any specific questions? That's all I had. I do have a question. We saw obviously that there's a lot more accounts with pending balances. Did you also see, or have you seen any sort of trend upward in individuals that are actually seeking some of the assistance that's available or not?
Marley, do you have?
Large number of customers coming in and the application and information. We have printed many packets of the actual application so that they at least have that when they go and their application out. Which answer your question, yes, we have see their balance, realize that they're not to make the payment.
Thanks.
Any other questions? I'd just like to make a comment on that theme. I urge Ms. Gilbert, the administration, to work very carefully with these customers. Sometimes it's very challenging to get them to the program and try to request for that extra money. I really think that
Yeah, well, thank you,
staff needs to really work hard with the staff to ensure that y'all can help as much as you can.
Yes, I know staff is very diligently working with our customers and provide all the assistance that they need.
I had a question. Are the customers being notified properly? I mean, they're given enough time.
Yes, I believe the notices went out early last month. They were notified ahead of time that the moratorium was going to end, and that they needed to, ensure that they come in and make payment arrangements or make any payment arrangements.
Mike, I just hope a lot of reserve funds and those external funds that are available for people that have hardships. Just really want PUB administration to work hard and make that money available to them if they meet the criteria and if they.
Exactly, yeah. I believe that last Friday, Mr. Hernandez did provide a report to the Finance Committee. And I believe that at that point, he did mention that K-Cost was just getting their new funding from the federal government, so that will be available. If they fall through the cracks, they can certainly apply for our share program. We can provide assistance that way.
Any other comments from the board?
No, I just want to make sure that we do everything possible to help these customers.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a good thing when you don't have your electricity hooked up or you get home and there's nothing there. So we gotta take care of the families.
Will do.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
And then what's the next item?
The next one is the last from the report, it's a little bit longer than the general manager's report, a lot of things going on here at the utility. So the 2023 Washington Congressional and Federal Agencies meeting was held, and we also have the American Public Power Association, that is legislative rally. I have here with me Scott, and he's going to be a quick presentation, I guess, to provide of the updates of what was discussed on the various meetings.
Good afternoon, Chairman, members of the board. Just a bird's eye view of last week's work in Washington. You have in front of you some summaries that are a little more detailed. However, should you need additional detail, we could get that to you, shortly after the meeting. So on February 27th and 28th, PUB executive and board met with our congressional delegations, some federal agencies, TPPA board members, and attended American Power Association rally that was occurring there in Washington, D.C. The purpose of these meetings are to meet with lawmakers, key agency decision makers, and really to bring awareness regarding our infrastructure needs and funding opportunities for some of our major projects down here in Brownsville. Specifically, the primary projects discussed were the Saca restoration and the desalination facility expansion. But there were other topics discussed. Electric was discussed, but these were the primary topics. APPA sessions, again, board and executive attended APPA sessions, and these were some of the topics that were discussed.
Sorry, just to clarify, American Public Power Association.
American Public Power Association.
Yes, and Texas Public
And
Power
Texas Public Power
Association. I've heard it said a bunch of times. I didn't know if everybody in the room knew that. So
Yes, thank you. These are some of the topics discussed, key recent federal and state legislative, regulatory, and court developments regarding pole attachments. And then there was also some discussions on what investments are eligible for energy tax credits under the Inflation Reduction Act. There was an opportunity to some meetings, discussions with TPPA board members and their respective utilities. And some of those discussions included drought and impact on water supply and some of the current legislation impacting utilities. Some of the federal agencies that we met with include the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Bureau of Reclamation, OMB, Office of Management and Budget, the House and Senate subcommittees on appropriations for energy and water development. One of the primary visits includes that with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, the USACE. And what we did there was provided headquarters staff with an update on the Saca project, where we were, and we just discussed the funding moving forward in FY24. With the BOR, Bureau of Reclamation, we discussed drought conditions in the region, the impacts to our water supply, and the need for expansion of our brackish groundwater desalination facility. And then we also talked about some potential funding opportunities from the Bureau. On the congressional delegation side, these are some of the offices that we visited. Senator John Cornyn's office, Senator Ted Cruz, and Congressman Vicente Gonzalez's office. With Vicente Gonzalez, we also discussed community funding project requests. So in summary, this is just again a quick overview. Really, the summary, the awareness, we were bringing the awareness of the importance of the projects to the community, and that's really what we were after. We're also seeking grant funding opportunities and discuss these community funding project requests. So we do have some follow-up meetings and some action items that we're already working on, and we'll continue those discussions with these offices as we move forward. Any questions?
Joseph?
I just want to say it was impressive watching Renee and Marilyn in action. If you guys haven't seen it, they did a great job.
We appreciate, of course, everybody's efforts and time away from their families to attend this important conference. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think we'll see general manager's updates.
Okay, we're gonna move on to items for continue with items for consideration. We have item number 2, Consideration and approval of agreed upon procedure report on review of Tenasca project fund. Miguel?
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the board. So on December the 12th, 2022, the BPUB engaged Burton McCumber Longoria, BML, to review the Tenasca Equity Fund. BML was tasked with verifying the sources of information and methodologies used in earmarking, accounting, and disposition of the Tenasca Equity Fund. So they completed the review. They provided a draft presentation to the Finance Committee on March the 3rd. And with us today is Mr. Ben Peña, partner with BML, that will be presenting his report. Ben?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. For members of the public, my name is Ben Peña. I'm with Burton McCumber and Longoria. We were tasked under a special agreed upon procedures engagement to look at management schedules related to the Tenasca rate increase revenues for the purpose of verifying the sources of information that went into that schedule and the methodologies used in earmarking those funds, the accounting, as well as the final disposition of where those funds ultimately ended up. We looked at management's computational schedules, as well as the sources of data behind those schedules, and in some cases, we traced the information to previously issued audited financial statements to verify accuracy. So before you is a draft of our report, and so we're pleased to report that we are complete with our procedures. In our report, and just a high level of what we looked at and what we found is we looked at the amount of the Tenasca Fund rate increase collected and how those funds were used. Ultimately, as you all know, $29 million went into the Tenasca Equity Fund, as well as $74 million went to the rate stabilization program as well. We also looked at the interest potential on $29 million sitting in the accounts for the Tenasca Equity Fund, and the interest on that was around $2 million. And we looked at all the supporting documentation, which included invoices, agreements, ACH authorizations, and overall management authorizations with respect to those Tenasca expenditures. Overall, we found everything well documented and supported. We looked at the right-of-ways acquired. There was about 124 properties located in the gas pipeline right-of-ways. We looked at eminent domain court proceeding rulings. We looked at HUD settlement statements and all of those approvals. We looked at the amounts paid for each of the properties on the schedule. In our report, we are only reporting the acquisition costs related to those easements. We also looked at the sources and uses of the Tenasca revenues applied in the rate stabilization program. As I mentioned earlier, a lot of those funds ended up in the rate stabilization program. And so when we looked at it in its totality, with that program, we looked at the sources and uses of the Tenasca funds into the fuel subsidy account, as well as the PUB's own funding through its general account. As a result of the $29 million refund, we looked at what the effect on the financial statements would have. Obviously, we're reporting a $29 million liability and a offset to the current year revenue. So you're looking at a decrease in revenues of the same amount. And so that would be reported as in the event that it is reported in the financial statement as a liability of $29 million and a reduction of $29 million in revenue. And so we pro forma'd the budget of that adjustment with your current budget for FY 2023. Those are in Appendix 5 and 6. And you'll see the effect on the effect on the current operations through January 2023 as well. Overall, we did look at the methodologies used. We didn't disagree with any of management's computational methods. They were adequately supported, and so we didn't really have any exceptions other than a few computational errors with respect to cell assignments, which is common in complicated Excel schedules, but for the most part, everything was there. So those schedules have been updated and amended. They are included in your exhibits
for review. And at this time, if you have any questions, I will be happy to answer as best as I can.
So I have a couple and full disclosure, I've already emailed these questions, but I feel like I should ask them publicly. So we have full transparency. So you were able to reconcile, your numbers with BPUB's numbers, right? Yeah, you paid everything seemed to agree. So BML and BPUB, we have a number, man, I didn't write down where the numbers came from. I apologize. $30,246,629. And that was the money. I will double check so I don't say exactly wrong where it was.
That's on
Um,
page
yep.
3 of the report.
Total expenditures for Tenasca related projects. And CRI said, well, approximately, they use that word a lot, actually, approximately 30.9 million. So there's another situation where look at the income from project related increases, and BML, BPB said it was $114,809,414. CRI said approximately 118 million. So you mentioned you cannot comment on the numbers or methodologies used by CRI. You don't have that information and you really can't talk about it. But it's fair to say you, after going through BPUB's books, running your own audit, were unable to reconcile your numbers with the CRI report.
Right.
And that's like $4 million off in one case, about, right?
Right.
Now, this is a draft report. And so just to make sure, you're not going to find $4 million and stick it in when we have the final report, are you? Like, we're pretty confident with the numbers.
Yes.
We're go wordsmithing, right? Okay.
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure and make sure I understood that and said that publicly. Okay. Thank you.
So basically, we went through the computational process. It's fairly complex. There's a lot of data involved that we downloaded, summarized, sifted, and sorted, and applied to the years that you had different rates were increasing. And so when you look at the approved rates to the consumption, and again, this was only based on consumption. So we applied the consumption in each of the years for each of the classes in each of the blocks for the applied rates in each of the years. And so you come up with a lot of data coming in together to come up with what the rate increase was from the baseline of 2013 moving forward. And so I looked at it very hard, and other than the cell adjustments in Excel that management had missed, in fact, the numbers have changed from the previously presented schedules. They are what they are. And so I'm confident with my numbers with respect to CRI's amount, without knowing what methodology they use and what data inputs they use to arrive at that 118 million. I can't attest to anything of what they did.
That is fair. That is fair. And you can't say this probably as a professional, but like, I'm right, they're wrong kind of thing. So yeah, that is fair.
Correct. Right.
Any other comments from the board members? Ben, I just heard you say, you said something about $2 million interest.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that.
So the idea was that the 29 million was sitting in an account over time since the establishment back in when the fund started, right? And so when one starts to think of what the earnings potential of $2 million unused, right? And a refund to the public, to the consumers of that 29 million, it's like, well, ultimately, what would be the lost interest of those funds sitting in an account, the lost opportunity of interest that maybe the board consider might be due back to the consumers. And of course, this is just a number that's out there. Ultimately, the board has the ultimate decision as to what it would refund.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
You bet.
Anything else from anyone? All right.
Mr. Chair, if I may, this is an action item. So the Finance Committee will make a recommendation as to whether to approve the agreed upon procedure report is presented.
Okay, so it's an action item. We have a action item. We have a motion from any of the board members.
I move to approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. A second?
Second.
We're
Approving and accepting the report as presented.
we're accepting that their work has been completed and it has met all the necessary criteria for accounting and they feel comfortable that their work and their oversight of PUB is important, except for perhaps $4 million that Dr. Coleman has brought to our attention.
Well, in one case and a few $100,000 in the other case. So, yeah.
So that's why it's an action item. Sandra. No, absolutely.
Well, yeah, I'm just curious if it's required or necessary to approve. I'm not sure what is being presented for approval other than the document itself. Because typically, you know, like, for example, you can approve financial reports, quarterlies, et cetera, but I don't know what the.
There's a presentation.
I think the correct terminology is acceptance of the report rather than approval. And so that would be my guess with respect.
Do you have any comments?
I think Mr. Payne is correct. It would be acceptance of this report is
All right,
final.
so we need to clarify the motion. The motion from administration is the finance committee will make a recommendation to the board. So I guess that recommendation would be to accept the report. We clarify that motion and do we have a motion?
So, you know, I guess, just to completely, make sure that everything's clear. We're just accepting, we are, still able to go through this, ask questions. You know, we accept the fact that we believe BML did their job and we're not saying, hey, these numbers are gospel.
You're
not that
accepting
they're
their
not.
report.
I think I move to approve accepting the report. Sure.
We have a motion to approve, to accept the report. Do we have a second?
Dr. Bailey is.
Second.
Yep.
Can you hear me, Mr. Chairman?
Those in favor?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Okay, all those in favor of accepting the report? Say aye. Aye.
Abstain. You still have the floor.
Okay.
You're good.
The mayor abstains. The motion still passes. We'll move on to number 3. Consideration and possible action on expansion alternatives for the FM 511 Service Center Yard. Miguel, do you have?
Monica will provide this presentation.
Okay.
Good afternoon. So the design of the BPUB FM 511 Service Center began in June of 2016. Construction began in May of 2018 with substantial completion at the end of 2019 and move-in during May of 2020. The original design of this project included future expansion of approximately 15%. As a result of the COVID pandemic, the utility industry has been impacted by supply chain issues and longer lead times for materials. This has necessitated an increase in the level of inventory being carried at BPUB and the splitting of materials between the new yard location and the old yard on Robin Hood Drive. In order to accommodate these industry changes, we need additional surface areas at FM 511 in which to store and retrieve needed materials. And my apologies, we do have a brief presentation. So staff has been working on this project. They have identified 3 separate phases. One phase is the space adjacent to the current yard. The second phase is a pole yard for the utility poles that are stored currently here at Robin Hood. And then phase 3 is a trailer yard. And so we did present this last week to the to the Facilities Committee. Well, I'm not last week, February 15th. Time flies. February 15th.
Missed the holidays.
Yes.
That's excusable.
We did present it to the Facilities and Program Committee, and on February 17th, the chair of the Facilities and Program Committee visited the FM 511 Service Center. And so I'll just show you real quick. And these are the poles that we are currently inventorying here at Robin Hood Drive. And so right now, the crews have to go between the 511 service yard and the old yard here at Robin Hood when they need to come pick up poles. If they need materials from both yards, they have to travel. The crews and the warehouse staff have to travel between locations.
So I have a quick question, just because I can't tell from this photo. Is there anything to keep these logs from running away, rolling away?
Yeah, I mean, they're in the secured area in the yard back here. They are.
But I mean, like normally you would see posts that arrest the,
Yeah, no, I mean, this is how they are currently stored. The pole yard plan does have some, I don't know what the stanchions.
Dr. Holman, to answer your question, is the new design will actually have the racks in place and the proper security instead of just letting them in the floor.
okay, so right now, okay. So
This is how PUD has been operating for many years, and we're changing a little bit of the parameters, yes.
Okay. Right.
So yeah, the quote does include stands for the poles and other storage. And so it is not immediately adjacent to the current yard, but there at 511 in the available space. And this drawing shows the pole yard is on the far right side. The left side would be the trailer yard. And so after her visit to 511, the chair, Ms. Sines, the chair of the Facilities and Program Committee, does recommend that we begin with phase 2. We do have all of this budgeted. The total for all 3 phases is $1,067,387. We do have it in the current CIP plan, split between FY23 and FY24 to be funded from commercial paper, which then will be converted to long-term debt eventually. But it is in the CIP plan. She is recommending to begin with phase 2. And so I don't know if Mrs. Sines, if you have any. And so we do have the action that the Facilities and Program Committee will make the recommendation to proceed with phase 2.
Well, I did take the time to visit our plant here, the old plant. And I took the time to go visit the location at 511 because it's difficult to get a good perspective of what we're looking at on these diagrams. So I physically went over there to go look at it based on their presentations, and I felt that the needs that they have, they had suggested the first phase was just to expand the area so they could put additional surplus inventory into this area that right in the middle of it has like a funky retention pond. So it was going to go around that retention pond, but I felt that the bigger need was for them to access the poles because the poles are sitting here in the old plant and they're at the new plant. So that travel time, I didn't think it was efficient for them to be doing that. That's why I recommended for them to, instead of going to phase 1 for extra space for extra surplus, I felt that the need was greater with the poles to cut the time and traveling and to be more efficient. And so I'm recommending, and of course, with the board approval, that we start with phase 2 as opposed to phase 1, which is needed. I thought it had a greater need. And then with time, we could expand on the other locations. I did talk to management and I felt like if we didn't start with phase 1, there's still some areas in our old yard that we can still accommodate some of that inventory and then phase that inventory over to the new location as needed. And that's why I'm recommending that we go start with phase 2 to address the urgency of the pole situation as opposed to phase 1. And that is my recommendation.
Let me just say as well, the staff is going to be looking at between the purchasing and warehouse staff and operations with both electric, water, and wastewater, looking at some of the slower moving inventory that's currently stored at 511 that can be moved here to Robin Hood and move the poles so that we have the faster moving inventory at 511, some of the
Right.
slower moving items
So,
here at Robin Hood. I mean, eventually the goal is to do all three phases, but
that would be
start
the
with phase
goal.
two right now.
And you're correct, but when I talked to management, there was some areas that I think we needed to be more efficient. There were some areas that maybe some of the warehouse could be used. And I think that maybe that probably needs to be looked at before we start making some of these other decisions and see what we can utilize and make a better decision at that point.
Yeah, so there's a team that's going to be looking at those.
Right. So that was my recommendation.
Monica,
Yes.
I'm trying to understand the summary and the recommendation.
Mhm.
The cost is
The
167.387. What exactly are we,
the phase two
phase two?
pole yard is $487,839. We do have in the 2023 capital budget, we have $540,982 allocated in 23 and another $540,982 allocated in 24 for all three phases. So we have sufficient budget in the 23 plan to cover the phase two.
The cost for this right now is 487,839.
Yes,
So there's a recommendation that administration moves forward with the phase two of the pole yard relocation
yes,
at an estimated cost of 487,839.
yes.
Do
That
we
is-
have a motion for that?
Well, one question. Okay, so, we're going to be shuffling some inventory around by the way, the picture you had of the poles and the parking lot was enough for me. Like, oh my goodness, this is, something I'll have a discussion about later. But okay, are we sure that we're storing inventory, other inventory, relatively expensive, long lead time, transformers, fill in the blank? Are we storing them as we're supposed to, meeting industry standards, not accidentally aging anything?
Yeah. So one of the things in the team, Mrs. Hill's recommendation, when we spoke to the directors and we all discussed, okay, there's some things that we don't regularly move, and there's some transformers that are very large, and some of the things that have a shelf life. And so those are the things that they're discussing, and the experts who are the ones doing regular materials. Most utilities have a warehouse manager, but they also have a materials manager that works in conjunction with the utility to be able to coordinate as projects. And so there's a lot more efficiencies going on. Because we now are growing, we have two locations, and doing what we're doing is staff will be working into those efficiencies, and we're going to be looking into some. With the various different audits that we've had, we've actually gotten rid of a lot of surplus equipment, and we've also made sure that we're turning around equipment that we need to. Times really have changed for all of us in the utility business, and especially the timing of when we receive the equipment. And sometimes our customers are used to us having the equipment available. That is one of the reasons why the existing yard did not accommodate for COVID, and the supply chain issues. If you all know in the industries, there are supply chain issues, and even the pole yards at the poles were even maintained at other locations with the actual people that are manufacturing the poles. And I have firsthand experience where actually trying to get poles has been very, very difficult. So if we know that we get hit with a hurricane and we need to make sure they have the ample, this is the right thing to do, is having the equipment and materials and expanding of the yard. And thank you for that support at this time. And with Mrs. Sands' recommendation, we're trying to be more efficient.
Great.
Okay, so we have a motion to move forward on this item.
Make a motion.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Dr. Holman. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It passes.
Thank you.
We're moving on to item number 4. Consideration of possible action on the Brownsville Public Utility Board's property insurance. Mr. Dale?
Sorry, I have a couple of items tonight, so I was just trying to figure out which one. My name is Estrella Solórzano. I'm the Acting Director of Communication and Administrative Services. And good evening, Board Chair, members of the board. I will be presenting the next two items. The first item that I have to present is the consideration and possible action of the Brownsville Public Utilities Board's property insurance. This year was an RFP year for Brownsville Public Utilities Board. On March 30th at 11:59 PM is our current policy year expires, and that is the third year with the board's option to renew. So the insurance policy year that I bring forward to you is for beginning on April 1st. This item was out for about 7.5 weeks for us to obtain RFPs. We did receive one respondent. The respondent is Marsh, who is currently our broker. They are currently, they have provided us with a not to exceed number, which means that the cost of our insurance renewal will not exceed that number, and that's why I'm here for your approval on that not to exceed number. They're currently trying to negotiate that number to decrease with some of the London markets, which have not provided the final. With me today, I have Area Vice President for Arthur J. Gallagher, who's our property and casualty insurance consultant, who assisted us with the review of this program that was submitted to us. So we do have a presentation for you that was included in your packet. I don't know if you want us to go over it or if you have any questions.
I don't think it's necessary to go over the presentation or the packet unless the board members want to hear it. Just in the effort to save time.
Okay, no problem. Just real quick, one thing I did not add was that this is the premium for this insurance policy is paid on a prorated amount based on the insurable values of both SRWA and BPUB. The SRWA board did approve on Monday their 6% portion at a not to exceed. So this is just for the BPUB portion. So the total is $2,489,246, but we will only be paying the 94. So the recommended action, BPUB staff recommends approval of BPUB property insurance as recommended by BPUB's insurance consultant for an amount not to exceed of $2,339,891 for policy year 2023 to 2024, and for a 3-year period with the board's option to renew at the end of each year.
Okay, that's a recommendation. Any comments or any more discussion on this item?
And this is the insurance for all the buildings in the, for
Yes, ma'am.
all the buildings.
It's on our schedule. We have schedule values for both electric or power and non-power. So we get it's all of our buildings, yes, and some of the contents as well. So the contents that are in our warehouse, we have a value specifically for that.
Okay.
We provide a schedule values of all of our properties and contents, and that's how they provide us with a premium based on overall values. It is a budgeted item. It is under our budget, and this is actually a good renewal. With the current market, the inflation costs, we are seeing up to 100 to 150% increase in premium. So we're looking at about 8 to 11%, and they're currently bringing that down. We actually got notice that they're almost 100% complete, not yet, but we are seeing about a $30,000 increase from this number, hoping to continue to go down. If approved today, we can go all the way to March 30th to close on a contract. We can negotiate that there.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve.
Jude?
Motion to approve.
I'll second that.
It's second by Dr. Herman. All those in favor say aye.
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 So item passes. We'll move on to item number 5. Is that yours, Mr. also?
Thank you. Oh, sorry about that. That's okay. That's okay. It's a very short presentation and the timeline. Okay, the second item that I'm going to present is on our marketing, advertising, and crisis communications. There is a very short presentation in your package. This has a little bit of a background of
of our current vendor as well as our process. We're going through an RFP. On April 2021, it was the first time that we got a Han, Tex Han, which is our current vendor for crisis communications, marketing, and advertising. On October 2022, I came back to the board to request an amendment to that contract to increase it to include additional projects as well as the AMI project, which was approved around that time by the board. On January 2023, after internal conversation, we decided to go out for an RFP to look at diverse vendors that could provide us with that support and provide us an average hourly cost for services to give us a better idea how much money we would be needing approval from the board. On February 15th, we did present to the Facilities and Programs Committee meeting as a request from from the members of the board of that committee. They did ask us to come back to the board today to provide you with our recommendation in regards to the vendor that we should use to also assist us specifically with website and social media responses. And with the website, we're looking for, we don't need to develop a website. We need somebody to do a full review of our current website, our content, where everything is located, and ease of finding information for customers. So they can find all the information that's currently available for them to see. We can also, regarding projects and everything else that BPUB is doing in our service territory and for the community. So the BPUB staff, a total of 4 staff members and 2 internal staff members ranked the vendors that submitted a proposal. Initially, it was 5. The day of the presentation for the programs committee meeting, we did bring 3 to interview and provide a short presentation and answer questions for the members of the board that were present that day. After review and feedback from the board on that day, we are recommending 2 different vendors. BPUB has 2 different communications types. We have the digital information platforms that leads the website and the social media, and we have communications and PR that handles other types of communication. So we are recommending, BPUB staff recommends authorization for the general manager and chief executive officer to execute a contract with Texan Media for marketing, advertising, and crisis communications, training and consulting services in the amount of $50,000. Additionally, staff recommends authorization for the general manager and chief executive officer to execute a separate contract with KGB Texas Marketing Public Relations, Inc. for website and social networks review, recommendations, and consulting services in the amount of $50,000. Both agency contracts would be for 3 years with the board's option to renew at the end of each year. So we would have 2 different vendors supporting 2 different sides of our communications team. They're both at $50,000. We're bringing it to you because I know this is important to you, even though they're within our general manager's approval. I think it's important that you are aware of who we are selecting and provide you with any responses that you might have or questions.
Okay, do we have any comments, discussion?
So first of all, I want to point out, we have a vendor named KGB.
KGB Texas.
Just thought that was interesting. But okay, so the BPUB staff members that were part of the selection committee, were they all communications people? Were there any senior leadership in this?
There was no senior, it was Ryan Greenfield, Communications and PR, Danny Mares, who's our key accounts. It was myself, and it was Ms. Diane Salater, who's our purchasing warehouse manager. That's who it was. However, this information was shared with our executive manager. It was presented with executive management here with 3 of the vendors that were selected. I have the ranking criteria that I can share with you individually so you can see their ranking. So it's not something that they have not been aware of, and they've also had the opportunity to listen to the presentation and answer questions.
And, senior management, what did y'all think of the vendors?
So the vendors that were selected by the staff and the new crowd do their job. There is no issues or any selections in there. They all have their positives and their negatives, and we received extensive feedback from Mrs. Sines and Mrs. Langley at that time, and the various different recommendations. And As a result, this is one of the things that I'm discussing with Estrella, that we believe that having two vendors is the appropriate thing. One of them is going to be utilized more for training, and that could also provide more training in various different events that we have. The this also is one of them is an existing vendor that we currently have, which is HARM. They are also currently part of the agenda. Some of our staff members are not here today, but they're at the TPPA marketing conference, and they're also doing training at that time with that particular vendor already through TPPA at this time. So with that, I feel comfortable that this is something that the team needs to be able to accomplish some of the goals and some of the revamping to get our customer information out better, and also to help navigate through the website, that sometimes some of the information is not readily available or navigable. And I've gotten calls myself and not being able to get information from the various different customers. So we're trying to improve, enhance customer, satisfaction.
Right. And just to add to that, they both have public utility or public power. They both work with water, conservation, drought, rates, rate changes, rate increases. So they all bring experience similar to who we are in this community, which is one of the main reasons why it's important. They need to understand our electric and water utilities and wastewater.
Well, we appreciate your presentation, your recommendation. Of course, the CEO is also recommending that we would benefit from this item. We have a motion from anyone to move forward?
All motion to approve.
We have a motion to accept the recommended action from administration. A second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second. It was like a tie. But, give it to Ms. Signs, because she's, give it to Ms. Signs. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those against? The motion passes on item number 5. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
We're moving on to item number 6. This is a consideration and possible action for the proposed award of the substation powered transformer field services to remove, dispose, and replace corrosive oil. Mr. Cortines?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Cesar Cortines, I'm Director of T&D for BPUB. The oil test results for 7 substation power transformers tested positive for corrosive sulfur. Sulfur is found in many materials of transformers such as copper, paper insulation, gaskets, and oil itself. Corrosive sulfur in oil can affect internal conductors and drastically affect winding insulation and can cause transformers to fail prematurely. Draining and flushing with new oil is the industry practice solution that basically will reduce the risk of severe failure and will help running and operating the transformer through the end of the useful life, which is typically 35 years average. And fund for this project will come from OMN. Proposal invitation was advertised in the Brownsville Herald on December 4 and 11, 2022, posted on the BPU website, and emailed to 12 vendors, with one vendor responding being SD Myers LLC. The BPU Purchase Department opened proposals in January 2023 for the substation power transformer field services to remove, dispose, and replace corrosive oil. SD Myers basically cost summary, which includes 3 transformers that were selected to minimize the outage required and due to the proximity. So you see we have 2 transformers from Price Road without the same substation, and the 3rd transformer is from FM Meadow 2, which is basically less than 2 miles away from Price Road, with the total service cost being $345,700. BPU staff did review the proposals and identify SD Myers LLC as responsive vendor based on price, specifications, and the time of delivery of the proposals of services. On a side note, this is a specialized service required by qualified workers. In this case, we have 3 individuals that will be performing oil processing and handling. This job will take 12 consecutive working days with 1 day in between each unit, basically to allow switching loads and de-energize the transformer. In general, the scope of work that includes taking oil samples before and after draining and flushing the transformer oil, vacuum field process, approximately 21,377 gallons of new oil, proper disposal of the corrosive oil, training, and adding a passivator that will help reduce the effect of the oxidation. The price includes mobilization, labor, process equipment, and the typical loading and per diem for completing the just mentioned scope of work. And then the last note I have here is that typically the cost for these transformers ranges between $600,000 to $1 million per transformer, and of course, the 10 to 12 months lead times. BPU staff recommends moving forward with transformer service for 3 transformers. So at this point, I will entertain any questions that you may have before I read my recommended action.
Real quick question. How did the sulfur get in there?
It is typically, it's already there that we have good sulfur, which is on most of the materials inside. But with the time and the operations on the summer and the high heat temperatures, there are particles inside the materials that it's a chemical reaction. I'm not an engineer, but that's what it typically causes the oxidation and the corrosive sulfur.
So when we approve this item, when we discussed this item prior to the agenda being approved, I thought it's an expensive process. How many transformers?
It's a total of 3. We are recommending right now. There's a total of 7 that need this process done. We budgeted on the CIP project.
I understand that it's just an expensive process.
Expensive oil change.
When they start the process, perhaps you can invite me or some of the board members. I'd like to see how this.
We can definitely do that. It's just that overnight deal. Then once they start, they won't stop until they finish. So yeah, we can maybe do
it like in 20 minutes, like.
Yeah. Like those ritual.
To the ground.
No, it is.
I really want to, if possible.
I'll make sure that to tell the manager to include us or some of the board members to be on site and experience that. I'll be personally want to be there.
Okay, so.
Yeah, also, but they can maybe do like a virtual type of thing.
Just do the old. All right, thank you. That's, okay, we have a recommended action to approve this item at 345-700.00. We have a motion to approve this item.
I move to approve.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you, Cecil, for that.
Thank you.
We're going to move to item number 7 with Alina Alvarez.
7 is a duplicate. It's a duplicate for a closed meeting item.
Yeah, is this,
Yes.
let's take this one into,
Yeah,
closed session?
we have it under closed session and open session. It's up to you if you want to
Gilbert?
listen to it.
So we have some items that are non-considered competitive or sensitive, and so what we are doing is we're for full transparency, we have an open session, so then that way it is a recording of the portion of what we've done to date. This was presented to the Finance Committee, and at the Finance Committee, we had the full presentation in closed session because we discussed other competitive and sensitive material.
Okay, what exactly does that mean? Are you going to present or are we going to wait for?
She'll present some of it here.
Some of it's going to be presented and then someone's protected. We'll take it to the back.
That is correct.
That is correct.
So good evening. My name is Lina Alvarez. I am Bronzeville PUB Synergy Risk Manager. And today I will be giving you a quick update on our natural gas hedging strategies and power supply. We continue to make progress to engage in natural gas price hedging and on developing a power supply strategy. Since last year, BPUB has been laying the groundwork to begin hedging natural gas price risk. A formal authorization is needed from the board for the general manager to proceed and enter into master agreements, ISTAs, and associated hedging transactions. In addition, BPUB staff is working on defining a clear near-term and long-term power supply strategy and associated action plan. And let me go ahead and get started with the presentation real quick. I'll read the recommended action at the end. Okay. The latest status is we're executing the ISTA agreement, is in progress. But to provide you a little bit of history on this, BPUB felt that we were ready to hedge
mid-February. However, we received notice from Shell that additional documents and a formal authorization by the board needed to be executed first before we could be provided the pilot hedge. So to the board today, we will be bringing on a different agenda item under closed session, the formal authorizations, which include some energy transaction authorization limits for hedging and other financial transactions, as well as the policy, the energy risk management policy update, which includes an appendix that include details on limits and authorization levels as well. We anticipate executing the pilot hedge during the month of March, and we remain on track to implement the hedging program in time for the summer. Any questions?
Any questions for any one of the board?
Not at this time.
Okay. That being said, then PUB staff will recommend scheduling the closed session workshop within the next 6 weeks. That what we're recommending.
That is correct. That's, I have a second presentation. We can skip that one if, or I can cover it real quick. After the second presentation, we can do the, if you're okay with that. Okay. Perfect. So the second presentation, which I know we've gone through a lot of items, so I'll try to make it quick. This is for the power supply resource strategy. And BPUB requires new resources by 2025 to meet the peak load. And staff and consultants have been working since early 2022 to develop a power supply strategy that focuses on reliability, on reducing risk, and on reducing future rates. Those are our goals. And activities included multiple workshops, and that's still in process. The workshops have also led to a high-level strategy and preliminary resource plan that will be presented during closed meeting in more detail for you all. Some of the key features of the preliminary plan are to be discussed during closed session. That will be included during the closed session include BPUB's current existing capacity position, what has been analyzed so far, details on that, as well as the preliminary resource plan suggestions. However, we want this resource plan to include the board's ideas and recommendations. So our final recommendation on this agenda item is that we're suggesting workshops with the board to get some of that in-depth analysis delivered to you all and then obtain some feedback. The proposed next steps. I can switch it. Is to conduct board workshops within the next 6 weeks and review the analysis, assumptions, and results, as mentioned, and discuss finance and customer rate implications, and then receive your feedback and discuss potential plan refinements. With the goal of finalizing the proposed resource plan and implementation plan and present them for the board for approval during the month of May. Any questions?
It's a presentation item, so I want to move on to discuss the, or to outline those agenda items for closed meeting. Number one is a meeting with the board's legal counsel for advice about contemplated pending court administrative litigation and on matters in which the duty of the attorney under the Texas disciplinary rules of professional conduct conflicts with Chapter 551, Section 551.071. Number two, discussion and consultation with the board counsel of any pending litigation against the Brownsville Public Utilities Board, Section 551.071. Number three, discussion of the Brownsville Public Utility Board progress on natural gas hedging strategies and power supply, Section 551.086. Number four, presentation, discussion and possible recommendation of information upon pricing of purchase power, generation fuel, and their impact upon the fuel purchase energy and marketing charge and possible discussion. Section 551.086. Information and possible action regarding cybersecurity incident. Section 551.076, 551.089, the Texas Government Code Act 518.177. Presentation, discussion, and possible action on energy transaction authorization, hedging approval, Energy Risk Management Policy Update, Section 551.086, discussion and possible action on terms and conditions of an employment agreement with the current general manager and chief executive officer, Section 551.072 and Section 551.074. Do I have a motion to move into closed session?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Move into close.
Get a motion on the item. Asking the discussion. Second, just all of that.
Hold on.
Okay, we are out of executive session. It is not 8:30. I will move to discuss any possible action on items discussed in closed session. I understand there is none, council, no items. We'll move to number 9, discussion and or request for future agenda items. The board members have anything that they want to put on the agenda to discuss for the next meeting? If not, then I'll entertain motions for, to adjourn.
So moved.
Jason,
Took too long.
we have a second. All right, all those in favor to adjourn this meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, adjourn. You guys are tough, man, to do this.